Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream today. Ron Nicoletti along with Acacia Courtney. And there you see partly cloudy skies. There's our beautiful turf course and interesting situation this afternoon. We got some races off the turf. Actually, we only have one race on the turf, and that's race number 5. 1, 4, 6, 8, and 10 will be off the turf today.
That's right. There was some rain overnight, of course, preserving the turf course for a big weekend coming up and just doing what's right. Safety is always first and foremost. So every race but race number 5, which is a mile and a 16th, will be off the turf this afternoon. So keep your eye on those scratches as well.
Well, just a couple of days away from the Pegasus World Cup Day, and that is Saturday. And what a day it's going to be.
That's right. Yeah, Saturday, January 25th. Are you excited?
I am excited. Hey, the 2020 presented by Run Happy. And we are, as of Saturday, we're going to show you the slates of the races. We're going to start with the turf. And the turf race, wide open affair.
It does seem to be that your morning line favorite is 7-2 on the outside. We drew the post positions yesterday for the turf and dirt here at Gulfstream Park. 7-2 is your favorite all the way to the outside on the Philly Magic Wand, who ran second to Bricks and Mortar in this race last year. But as you said, really wide open board. This might be a great place to find some value in a very competitive race.
Yeah, very competitive race. And you see that number 10 horse there? That's the one. I'll let you know. I have that one on top of my ticket. So, Mo Fours. With that said, we also have the main track one, the Pegasus World Cup, and we have some big news in this one.
We do. You see the number 9, Spend a Run, unfortunately, will not race on Saturday. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner. He's been training here in South Florida. Trainer Juan Carlos Guerrero saying that he has a skin disease, that he's just not pleased with how he's been doing, so he will sit this one out, which is a disappointment, but of course the horse always comes first. So we will not get to see the Spend a Run Omaha Beach rematch, and maybe if you had seen some of the odds ahead of time, we have had updated odds now due to the scratch. So these are the morning line odds as they will stand, and the 3 horses to the outside, 10, 11, 12, will bump in one stall.
Yeah, bump in one stall, and that might help Bodie Express, who is the speed of the speed, as they say, getting over there quick, of course, of the mile and 8 distance of the Pegasus World Cup by Run Happy, grade 1 event. And besides that, look at these guarantees we have for the late pick for $1 million.
$1 million in the late pick 4. Of course, the last 4 races. There'll be 12 races on Saturday's card. First post will be 11:30 a.m. $750,000 in the late pick 5. And Ron, $5 million in the Rainbow 6.
That's if it's not hit.
That's right.
Between now and Saturday. So we got today to worry about and Friday not worry about. You got a chance to take it down. If not, then on Saturday there'll be a $5 million jackpot guarantee. So we took care of all that business now. As we said at the top of the show, the main track is fast, the turf course is firm. We got a nice carryover. We got a $4 million jackpot guaranteed today in the Rainbow 6, which starts in race number 5.
That's right. Why not come on over and take a stab at it? 20-cent wager starts in race 5. That race 5 is, of course, the only race still on the turf today. So pick it up there. We've got a couple of pick 5s, a few pick 4s for you as well. And don't forget about the rolling super high 5. And Ron, just out recently as well, Sunday, the day after the Pegasus, will be the mandatory payout for the Rainbow 6. I know a lot of people have been asking, so your wish has been granted.
That is on Sunday. So after the Pegasus, you have a fantastic time. You come here and win about $11 million or thereabouts. So getting into today's card, we have, as Acacia just mentioned, a couple of pick 5s and the first race off the turf, and you have an early pick 5 ticket.
I took a stab at it. No singles in here. I thought it was a little bit tricky after some of the scratches and putting things together in this race. So number 1, Lelali to the rail off the layoff, and that big drop is taking a lot of early money, but I backed myself up with a couple of others just to be safe. I'm still really looking forward to race number 3. That's a nice maiden special weight, and I do wonder about the Chad Brown runner to the inside. 2 races on turf and now trying the dirt. We'll see what we get from Wajiha today, but that one and probably the 4th race, even though it's off the turf, the 4th race pretty much stayed together, and I kept my picks as they were. So looking forward to the sequence. $36 play for me.
At $36, and as Acacia mentioned, this this one now going to be run at 5 furlongs. Now, please note the main track is listed as fast. The turf course, that one race will be, that's race number 5, which is the start of the Rainbow Six, is on a good turf course. And really, when you look at this race after the move to the main track, the one, La Lali, is making her first start since March with the speed needed to steal this race on the front end. And that was why I went there with Amador Sanchez. Boy, he's been winning races lately, and you got Hector Berrios atop this Daughter of Handsome Mike. I think this one absolutely benefits the most with the move to the dirt.
It certainly does. And this filly, she just hasn't run in a little while, but she's been training solidly, and she has that speed. So we'll see what we get from her. I actually stuck with the number 12, I'm a Ginger, who I'd liked a bit last time, didn't run well, and I've kind of found just in general that some of these horses coming down from Canada need a race or two here in South Florida to kind of get acclimated. It's a lot cooler this week as well, so if weather was any sort of concern for her. But she picks up Irad Ortiz, and I was curious about her trying the turf today, but I'm thinking second time on the main track after those 2 really good races up at Woodbine, maybe we're going to see a little bit better from her.
Yeah, I had her on. I picked her last time, too. Now, I don't know on the top, but I had some interest, and she just didn't fire in that last race. Now, I've been bothering Acacia with the number 8, Azenbois, for
He's a big fan.
I'm a big fan of Charles Azenbois, the French crooner. So I don't know if it's named after him, but there's not many people with that last name. So this one dropped it to the 25 level. Really just failed to show much in its maiden special weight debut. But Victor Barboza Jr. does an excellent job with these maiden claimers.
Yeah, and taking a big drop from that state bred special weight competition down to the 25,000.
Well, let's go to race number 2. There goes my paper.
Man down.
I don't need it. That doesn't matter. The 6 furlongs claim is Philly's 3-year-old, $16,000 down to $14,000. This kicks off one of our 2 pick 4s this afternoon. And I went with the number 7 in here, Probable Grace, who moved to the Mike Maker barn after that claim, steps up to the 16 level, stretches out to 3/4 of a mile, had some trouble, broke slowly in its last race from the rail, finished second. Again, similar. It's Irad Ortiz Jr. I just thought to move it to Mike's barn, this was the one to be.
I think so, too, absolutely. I tried to get a little bit cute, and I used the number 3, Fondi, who I think clearly is more fond of the main track, and Gilberto Zerpa with Amisel Jaramillo switching surfaces today. So thought he'd be a little bit cute with this one, who does have some speed.
And we both used the number 4, Lady Arch, who's going to try and make it 2 in a row at the same level and distance after rebounding from a poor showing on the turf 2 starts back with that victory last time out. Joe Orsino, Christian Torres in the saddle. Looks like this one found its level and surface.
Yeah, certainly. I have to imagine that's the case. Had been knocking on the door in some higher price races, so it seemed like the drop last time out on the main track was the right move.
Yeah, so that is race number 2, and as I mentioned, kicks off the first of 2 pick 4s this afternoon. Now we're going to flip the page and go to race. Did you want to say anything else in that race?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
though.
was just checking.
Thank
I
you.
didn't ask. I was not very polite. This one, 1 mile, maiden special weight, fillies and mares. And this one, 4-year-olds and
You
upward.
can never put us together.
And I didn't know what to do. I thought Wahija, I didn't understand what Wahija was doing, but I put it on top, shortened it up to the 1-turn mile on the dirt, debuting locally for Chad Brown after finishing 4th against that special weight company, going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. I looked up a stat on Chad Brown with horses going from turf to dirt, maiden special weight. He usually goes the other way. 11 for 49, 22%, 67% in the money, and you knew that return of investment would not make you rich. But I think Wahija, I don't know why putting this one on the main track.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I did see her in her first race at Belmont as well as looking at last time as well, and she's a bigger bodied type. She had, from my memory, a little bit more of a turf look to her. So I'm curious. Obviously, this is a barn that just consistently does so well. So you kind of have to just say, well, it's Chad Brown. I'm going to trust what he's doing with this surface switch in here. But I was really intrigued by the number 6, First in Command, who finally gets a little bit more real estate for this filly by Warfront. And looking at her in the flesh last time, I thought that she'd want some more distance. And she was, interestingly enough, the favorite last time, and pulled a work courtesy of XBTV recently of her training over here on the main track at Gulfstream. And there she is in the green green pinny with the big white face, just having a nice little work there. She went 4 furlongs, so this was a couple back, and went pretty sharply as well, and just seems to move nicely and looks to me, Ron, like a horse that will appreciate getting some more distance, and she keeps John Velasquez.
Yeah, John Velasquez in the saddle for trainer Mark Hennig. And yeah, and just was the favorite. And I just thought that performance was sort of a screw-tightening performance, setting her up. Because you would think this horse wants to run longer.
Yeah.
It looks like that's the natural progression. Going to get that today, and you can't go wrong with John Velasquez in the saddle. I used the number 4. You used a little further down on your ticket, and that's Hafila, I think it's pronounced, making her local bound, returning from a 10-month layoff at Gulfstream Park West, finishing third at 6 furlongs. I got to respect Kieran McLaughlin. Louis Saez atop this daughter, Bernardini.
She's definitely had certainly some gaps in her races. All 3 of her races so far have been very spaced out. She went October to January not till November, and now we haven't seen her since November 21st. She's coming back now the end of January, but she gets a little bit more distance by Bernardini. She's faced some really good company. She picks up Louis Saez, kind of does look like go time would be today, and then Navasha to round out, switching back to the main track and actually getting to go a distance of ground on a fast main track, which she hasn't gotten to do yet.
Well, that is race number 3. Let's flip the page now. Race number 4 was originally scheduled for 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf, now to be run on the main track. And please note that's the first finish line. And he's a maiden claiming fillies, 3-year-olds, $32,000 down to $30,000. And you made a great point. I didn't have to change my selections in here. I kept the number 2, Elusive Molly, on top of my ticket, who's dropping to this level today of 32,000, stretching out to the mile and the 16. I thought ran okay, finishing third, albeit that was on the turf for Mike Maker, and you get an IRAD.
Well, the thing with this race is that Elusive Molly, Unicorn Sally, Midnight Bella, they've never been on the main track before, so it's kind of hard to gauge what we're going to get from these horses. But seeing these trainers leave them in, still take a stab at this kind of race, and especially when you have some more inexperienced horses, maybe still trying to break their maiden, taking a stab at the main track, I think, is absolutely a very valid try here. I thought Elusive Molly came out of a very good maiden claiming race last time out. Hurricane Breeze was very good that afternoon, was well rated behind and finished up really nicely in the new barn, but I thought that seeing Mike Maker leave this one in and taking a bit of a drop in class could be key, and was very intrigued by Unicorn Sally as well, a name I've always liked. I'm not exactly sure where it come from, but big fan of it. And this is another one who's just run solidly in her 3 races so far.
Yeah, John Kimmel, boy, he hasn't started many horses. He's got Javier in the saddle. John Kimmel started a limited amount of horses last championship meet, and he did exceptionally well. So I was the same. I kept my top 2 on top. The number 7 horse, who you have a little further down, Big Boss Lady, stretching out to this 8.5 furlong distance after promising turf debut. She encountered double trouble in that race. She steadied. The jock lost the whip. She finished second, going 7.5. I think this horse can run well on the main track. Paco rides for Dave Fawkes. You look at her, she's tried the dirt once before and didn't run that badly.
Yeah, she actually had a couple of races in Kentucky, so she's not run on the dirt here at Gulfstream, but at Churchill Downs, she had 2 in the money finishes when running for a tag at Churchill on the main track. So we'll see if now switching surfaces, she, looking back, is probably the one to beat, though she has been exposed to this comparable level on the main track and not gotten the job done.
Well, that's race number 4. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to take a stab at today's Rainbow Six.
Run Happy is simply super. He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu.
No medication, no problem. Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today with Ron and Acacia. And as we told you before the break, the fifth race will kick off the Rainbow Six today. And it starts with the fifth race, and that is the only race that has stayed on the turf this afternoon. I got a $48.60 ticket, and I did go 3 deep in most races in here. In this fifth race, I like Night Watch going in. I have the 1, the 5, Lovey, and Charlotte the Brit. Prospective Diva, Note to Selfie. I think those are the logical 2 in race 6, but I also use the 8 horse in there who's entered for the main track. And then you see down in race number 9, that's my single today. And we're very familiar with this horse, Bel Tapissiere. This one a reclaim by Mike Tomlinson, back locally. Ran well here for different connections. And this horse had a really good campaign in Kentucky. We'll talk about this horse a little later while in the Robertino Diorado barn. And I just think that this horse is the one thing single. So I got lots of coverage except for that one race with the 4.
I like it.
Robertino, I'll get his name.
I like it.
Right.
It's Pete's fault. Pete's making me laugh.
Pete's making you laugh
Yeah,
over there?
yeah.
Okay. Well, who'd you go with? Race number 5.
I took a little bit of a stab in here. I used the number 2, Here Comes Jackie, for Mike Deeney, who I think has kind of been knocking on the door. And one thing I thought about this race, Ron, is especially with the scratch of Being Daddy's Choice, there's not much speed in here. So I thought that the tactical and capability of showing some early speed for Here Comes Jackie with Javier Castellano aboard, who piloted this horse to her last win, which was at Saratoga at the end of the meet in September. I thought tactically the race could set up for her.
Well, that's the one I left out further down the ticket. So I did go with the number 1 Night Watch, now in the Juan Alvarado barn. This Thought of Brethren stretches out to the mile and the 16th after rallying to finish third behind next out winners Bella Porto and Codrington. That was in that key 1 mile turf outing going against those 35,000 non-winners of 3 lifetime runners. Edgar Zayas in the saddle today. Key race. I like this horse on top. The 5, Lovey, is looking to be closer to pace. She rallied from the parking lot last time out. It's Jorge Navarro, Jose Ortiz. I think this one's going to be a little closer to the pace today.
Yeah, I think that she would need to be, given how it looks like the pace may play out in here. Also think that Charlotte the Brit, who's definitely had her own fair share of antics prior to the race, even just a short comment, 2 back, keyed up, surge late, 3 back, clipped heels, check on the rail. She's just had a lot of trouble trips. And last time out, she was far back and really wide in very tough company in the Tropical Park Oaks. So I think this is a better spot for her. If she gets smoothly out of the gate, she does have some tactical ability.
Well, that kicks off the Rainbow Six. I might have to go 4 deep there because Keisha made a good case with the number 2 horse in race number 5. With that said, we'll flip the page, go to race number 6, and this one originally scheduled for the grass, 5 on the main track. Claimers, fillies, and mares, 4 and up, non-winners of 3 races in life, and your late pick 5 ticket.
I did, and I actually really toyed with the idea of singling Bel Tapissiere a little bit later on. I ended up backing myself up because still it was just $32, so I ended up doing that. But that would probably be the horse that I would single if I wanted to make this an even more budget-minded ticket. I'm using 2 in here. I've got the main track only Stronger Cat and Note to Selfie, both of whom have good main track form. I spread with 4 in the 7th race. I think that's a pretty competitive race. You've got Saffie Joseph Jr., 2 for Navarro, and then Empire Power with Antonio Sano to the outside with Irad Ortiz looks a bit interesting. 2 deep in the 8th. This is where I considered singling in the 9th with Bel Tapissiere, but backing myself up with Benefactor, who's just been pretty solid for Jorge Navarro.
Yeah, I think you got the logical look I did in the last race with Donegal Aces, and 8 ain't enough. I had a long shot today on the turf. I don't know if this horse can run well on the main track, but I kept this horse on top, and that's the 2 Prospective Diva, who's been competitive at this level when it was on the turf in the past. Drops, but look who this horse was facing last time out. Ladies Island, impressive next out winner, Thinking Cowtown, who's in the sprint on Saturday. This is a 40,000 optional claimer. I think you give this horse a look on the main track. I loved it much more on the turf. I thought I was going to get 20-1 in there. The logical 2, Note to Selfie and Stronger Cat. I'm taking a little bit of a shot with the number 2.
Yeah, I hear you. I actually had liked this horse a bit on the turf as well. I had used her in my top picks. I did end up going with Stronger Cat, who was entered for the main track, takes the drop in class, and note to self, he turns back in distance, second off the claim for Jorge Navarro.
Yeah, that Stronger Cat, that race was pretty good. The one that ran seventh, produced a bunch of next out winners. Note to selfie, logical contenders in there. But if you have a single further down the line, that's a good spot. Besides race number 7, race number 6, if you can go a little deeper in there, it's pretty wide open affair. With that said, race 7, 1 mile starter, optional claimer 4 and up. For $12.5 or less, or the optional claiming price of $16,000, and you went with the number 7 Empire Power. We're basically in agreement with a couple of our top picks, but I can understand going deep in this race.
Yeah, this was a race that I had a little bit of a tough time with. I actually saw, contrary to the earlier race we were discussing, I saw quite a bit of pace potentially signed on in here. Now, Yodeli Ahu takes the blinkers off, got really awkward out of the gate last time out, and it was in the Claiming Crown Rapid Transit. Stretches back out to the mile. Now, this horse has won at both distances. I'm actually not quite sure what his best distance is. He's been historically more of a sprinter, but he has won at a mile, and he does have natural speed. But Little Commissioner has speed, so does So Long Chuck. Pango out of the race, but he was going to be forwardly placed. Royal Coup has been forwardly placed as well. So I picked a horse that I thought might be able to sit a bit of a trip, and maybe I'm going to get Irad Ortiz at a little bit of a price with Empire Power, just given the fact that ran so well in the Rapid Transit 2 back, then backed that up with a good second behind Squeeze Adios last time out.
Yeah, hard knocking Squeeze Adios. That you see that horse is on the past performance. You got to give this horse.
He's been really tough lately.
Yeah, he's been really tough, and it's Antonio Sano. Irad, as you mentioned, at the controls. I got that one on my ticket. I did go 3 deep in this race on my Rainbow Six, but I did go with the one Yodeli, who is dropping into this starter optional claimer today after his 3-race win streak ended. He broke awkwardly, really never got untracked in a Claiming Crown Rapid Transit. Safi Joseph Jr., Edgar Zayas named to ride. Salsa's return, another one from Navarro. As you mentioned, there's a lot of good horses in this race.
Yeah, there are. There's some really tough horses that have been right there and been consistent, and they look evenly matched, which makes it a fun race to look through. Maybe you might find some value.
Yeah, we'll see. That's race number 7 of 10 today. Now, race number 8. 5 furlongs originally scheduled for the turf, off starter optional claimers. I did go with the number 2 in here, Cajun Casanova, in for the $50,000 tag. This colt drops for Mike Yates after the duel and 4th place finish. That was in the Limehouse. Then duels and finishes 3rd in the inaugural up at Tampa. So I just thought the drop, main track, this one ran well on the main track. I put this one on top of my ticket.
And it's so interesting because I was really intrigued with seeing this one get back on the turf today, because that turf win in the Hollywood Beach was just sensational back at the end of September, and got a big buyer speed figure for that as well. So I was curious. We won't get to see that. And his main track races have been solid. He did actually break his maiden on the main track. I took a stab with the number 7, Iberico, who is also coming out of stakes competition. Maybe on Shivery in the Buffalo Man last time out. It tried the Saratoga Special a couple starts back, but it won a high-level allowance at Gulfstream in September. Broke his maiden by more than 5 lengths on the main track here at Gulfstream. This is the true, I think, main track horse of the race.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in this. So, I went with the number 10, Henry's World. I found this horse intriguing second. Looking to make amends. Followed that 75 optional claiming victory. Comes back, stalks, and was a 3-5 favorite that day at this level of distance. And that was on the turf. But this horse ran well on the dirt during August and September for Kathleen O'Connell. I just thought maybe this horse can be there. I don't know if you can get a little bit of a price on this horse, but I went back on the go back on those main track races, and I think maybe this horse can grab a share.
Yeah, I kept looking at this horse, and this is it's an interesting little race. I kept going back to Henry's World and didn't end up using him, but I did use Mind Your Biz, who's coming off of 2 really impressive wins at Hawthorne, including a state-bred Illinois-bred stakes win last time out. So we'll see how this one fares against this competition.
Yeah, Larry Ravelli. Now, when I was doing this race originally, a couple of days ago when it was on the turf, I said, boy, Larry Ravelli, this horse runs on the turf. He can win it.
Yeah.
Handle the turf. He can win it. Now he gets to run on the main track. Boy, he's tough to leave off the ticket, Larry
Definitely
Ravelli,
is.
especially with speed horses in here. Now, the 9th race today, the one that made Pete chuckle, 6.5 furlongs allowance optional, claimer 4-year-olds, and up at Belle Tapissiere. This one, as I mentioned, a reclaim by Mike Tomlinson back locally. 9 races here, 2 wins, 2 seconds. After that winning really nice campaign in Kentucky, in which he defeated $40,000 claimers. That was in Mike Tomlinson's barn at Churchill. Then he beats the $50,000 claimers at Cleveland in Robertino Diodoro's barn.
Well done.
I wanted to prove I
Pete's
could do it.
cheering him on now,
I wanted
too.
to prove I could do it.
I like it. Well, what I like about this horse is he's so tough. You mentioned the 2 wins in a row with different connections. He won for 40 at Churchill, 50 at Keeneland. This looks like a good spot for him. I mean, even towards the start of his career, we were always fans of him because he's a runner for sure. And he's really kind of shown his versatility as well. He can come from a little bit off the pace. He can also try to wire. So seeing Mike Tomlinson reach in again for him, I thought was pretty key. And boy, has he been training sharply on the main track at Gulfstream.
Yeah, I mean, he just looked, and as you mentioned, we keep going back to that. I would like this horse when it was here last time. You did use Benefactor, who's going to depart from the rare rally to finish that good second for Jorge Navarro, and I could understand using this horse on your ticket.
Yeah, I just thought, I kept going back to him. I think he had a little bit of a look to him. Maybe the 7 furlongs in the rapid transit was just a tick too far for him. And he ran well, ran solidly, beaten just by 2 lengths behind Royal Squeeze, who's just as tough as they come. And then last time out, backed that up at 6.5 at this distance with a good second and an 85 Beyer speed figure. So it seems like kind of this one, now third off the bench, off a little bit of a layoff, should be an interesting one in this spot.
Well, talking about Larry Ravelli, you got the 2 Get Hammered, who's stretching out to 6.5 and competing for the $62,500 tag today. After coming up empty, that was in the $250,000 Steel Valley Sprint Stakes at Mahoning Valley. I don't know if that's a good race or not, but I looked it up. It
Still
seems okay.
big money for that race.
Yeah, $180,000 Son of Stay Thursday. So this horse looks like he might be able to run well here for Larry.
Yeah, certainly has had a couple of wins, one on synthetic at Arlington first time out, and then one on the dirt at Canterbury back in August. He's pretty well traveled too, and did finish well in a high-level non-race of 2 allowance at Keeneland, beaten just a neck back in October.
Race number 10 today, 1 mile and 1/16, not on the turf. Maiden claimers. I just see Donegal Aces ain't enough or perfect enough as the logical 3 in here.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. As far as Donegal Aces and 8 ain't enough have a very similar look to them in that they debuted on the main track and then they've been running on the turf. Now, they seem to be running well on the turf lately, but their only main track race was first time out, and it was against special weight competition. So this will be significantly less than what they faced in that debut.
Yeah, and the number 8, Perfect Enough, is going back to their pair of thirds on the turf. He was okay in that off-the-turf race across town at Gulfstream Park West. I think those are the logical 2 or 3 in race number 10, and so does Acacia. That is how we see the Thursday card, just a couple of days away from the Pegasus World Cup, brought to you by Run Happy.
That's right. And Run Happy, coincidentally, is the sponsor of tonight's Eclipse Awards, too. So,
The Eclipse
yeah,
Awards.
yeah.
Acacia will be hosting. She's the best.
Thank
Hosting
you.
it tonight.
Thank you. Yes, so looking forward to it, co-hosting with Brittany Urton and Gabby Gaudette. So we should have a lot of fun.
I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. I'll be waving from the crowd. Far, far back. Good luck.